Hello everyone, I'm Game Design Executive Leader at Black Desert Studio, Jesok Jang. Finally, the hot summer has passed, and autumn is here. This summer was especially long and hot, which was tiring at times. Now that it's autumn, the fresh breeze blew in a change of mood. I wish all adventurers are having a wonderful day as each day passes. In today's commentary, we have the long-awaited Dosa Awakening prepared for you. Since his brief reveal in the Global Lab, many have been anticipating his arrival. We've worked hard on development and finally are able to present him to our adventurers. We've prepared the Dosa's background and combat clips. We hope you look forward to it. And it'd be a shame to only reveal Dosa's Awakening, so we've prepared other news as well. Many have been curious about the background story of sovereign weapons, and along with that, we'll cover various topics and introduce new items. We have a lot to share with you, so we'll get it started right away. The first news is about Node Wars. Since the new Node War was applied, many adventurers have sent us feedback. Among them, quite a few especially seem to miss the previous version of Node Wars. The current Node Wars allow anyone to participate easily, with simple rules. And even if everyone isn't the strongest, any individual can have a chance to conquer a node. Plus, wars tend to move quicker and discourages snipe guilds. On the other hand, as it's depending heavily on who last hits, the gameplay of Node Wars has shifted from feeling strategy and skill-based to be more luck-based. Therefore, the fun factor available in the previous version of Node Wars for certain adventurers, where they could make a play for the win, seems to be missed. To address this, internally we've tested adding strategic elements to the current version of Node Wars. However, this brought back the issue of being complicated and difficult again. Therefore, instead of changing the current Node War rules, we're trying out a new approach. Now, the victorious guild in the Unlimited Stats Conquest War can select the Node War rules for their territory themselves. For example, if Medea is currently a Conquest War territory with no stat limits, the guild that conquers Medea can directly select the next week's Node War rules. They can choose the rule of building forts like before, where shifting between offense and defense for a more strategic approach towards victory is required, or they can opt for the rule where a neutral fort is present that can be taken and defended or stolen. I did say week, but once the rules are confirmed by the Lord's Guild, these rules will be applied in the Node Wars from Sunday to Friday, then reset on Saturday. However, for Node Wars in Balanos and Serendia, since many participants there are still adapting or learning the ropes, they will not be affected by this change and only have the revamped rules available. We do not think of this as the perfect solution. However, the experience and teamwork adventurers have built over the years in Node Wars are truly valuable. So, rather than forcing it, we decided this approach was better. Development for this change has already been underway, as this does in fact mean there will be two Node Wars happening simultaneously. To minimize issues, optimization is required. However, that work takes quite a lot of time. It might take about 2 more months from now. As it is a massive overhaul of Node Wars, we hope our adventurers will show us their understanding. We'll focus on preparing it thoroughly to deliver a smoother gameplay experience after the patch. This doesn't mean that we won't be working on other parts during this time. Other major and minor patches based on your feedback will be applied as soon as we're done developing them. We plan on patching Node War rotations, fort location adjustments, etc. to keep on improving Node Wars. Next, let's talk about equipment items. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about what many are curious to hear, the development and intent behind the sovereign weapons. While developing the sovereign weapon, we had one major focus in mind: the Slumbering Origin defense gear and Deboreka accessories. Naturally, as Black Desert's best grade items, they were key deciding factors in setting the difficulty on this weapon's crafting. crafting. Looking back, we've been very cautious about adding new equipment. There was a need to protect the value of existing items and to minimize the burden that comes with new items. And we still strive to hold this direction to some extent even now. However, over time, the value and perception of these items changed. The two items mentioned, especially the Deboreka accessories, felt quite different from other accessories. Many adventurers currently probably associate Deboreka accessories with the feelings of annoyance, difficulty, and frustration. In the past, items like the Ogre Ring of Crescent Guardian, and Tungrad set were hard to enhance up to pen, but they were not as difficult as the Deboreka accessories. It requires a lot of time and silver, and the enhancement difficulty is high. Even we, the developers of the game, felt the same way. However, until now we prioritize direction over emotions, believing that the hard-earned items of our adventurers needed to uphold their high value. This is why we maintained the high difficulty. Yet, if this continued as is, the joy of progression and novelty could eventually whittle out. So we've attempted to address it in different ways over the years. You are all very familiar with the added artifacts and lightstones that can be used to enhance your setups. In the same vein, we introduced rare crystals and utilized the upgrade system with the addition of cups. Most of all, adventurers showed support for our endeavors. We believed adventurers understood the direction we were headed. We reminisced the moments when adventurers cheered for our new pursuits. This encouragement gave us the courage to continue in this direction. But even after all this, Deboreka accessories' influence on the game grew as time went by. When Deboreka accessories felt distant, it was all right. But as more adventurers became stronger, it became a present reality for many. Now, more adventurers are feeling frustrated. While Deboreka isn't the only reason for all of their frustration, but we believe it has significantly impacted them in a negative way. So, we concluded that change was necessary. That's why the sovereign weapon needed to be something special. And above all, its first impression was important, a new top-tier weapon. Following previous updates, people expect it to be harder, saying it'll definitely be harder than Slumbering Origin Gear and Deboreka. How difficult will it be to get? But we wanted to surprise everyone and overturn those expectations, making them say, "What's this? Why is it so easy? That was easier than expected." We hoped adventurers found it easier than they thought. Of course, easy is relative. For a top-tier item, it was relatively easy. This is what we were aiming for. The reason was clear. Sovereign Weapon is the top-grade item. We believe it sets the standard for the difficulty of future top-grade equipment updates. We believed this weapon could set that standard. For these reasons, the Sovereign Weapon enhancement is split into 10 levels instead of 5, smoothing out the initial growth curve. While the number of required cronstones can still be a burden, we've minimized it based on the current Monster Zone's net profit. It was challenging to pin down and advocate these cronstone numbers, but we all agreed that future direction is more important. Through this process, the Sovereign Weapon's current spec was finalized. However, we made a big mistake. At the last ball, we said we'd limit enhancement materials so that everyone can grow at a steady pace. But when the update went live, materials were too easily obtainable. So, if you had the currency, you could enhance all the way to the end. We sincerely apologize for this to all our adventurers. Truly, we are very sorry. This was such a big mistake that any explanation could feel like an excuse. But if we're to be honest about this, the specs were easier compared to what we initially planned, so we thought it would be much better if adventurers didn't get too stressed out on gathering materials. In the end, we focused too much on the positive side. Every word we say gives anticipation for the game, and also gives reason to why adventurers play the game. We took this factor a bit too lightly. If the specs changed, we should have explained our intentions like today, but we didn't. I want to apologize once again. We'll be sure to not let this happen again. Next time, we'll review more thoroughly and approach more carefully. Now let's move on from sovereign weapons. I'd like to talk about the main topic of today. It's about Deboreka accessories. Many are expressing concerns about the decreasing value of Deboreka accessories and other accessories after the release of Sovereign Weapon. This situation was intensified by adventurers shifting from trying to get Deboreka accessories to sovereign weapons. If you look at the data from Korea, 57% of owned sovereign weapons are pen or higher, and nearly 7% are oct or higher. In short, many have already accomplished pen, and quite a few are challenging to get oct. If we look at the current situation, sovereign weapons are helping adventurers break through growth barriers. But over time, things may revert to the original state we were in. So, before it's too late, we aim to ease Deboreka like sovereign weapons. In this context, we've prepared a new accessory. It's called Karazad accessories. Like the sovereign weapons, Karazad is purple grade. Its main feature is that it follows gear enhancement rules, not accessory rules. When Cronstone enhancement fails, its level doesn't drop. Even when not using Cronstones, it only loses a level, and it's not destroyed. To match its purple grade, it has 10 enhancement levels, not 5. Now, you might be curious about the crafting method, stats, and difficulty. Crafting method is divided into two main types. The first makes use of existing items. When you melt yellow-grade pen accessories, excluding Deboreka, you can get an item called Essence of Dawn. Collect these materials to craft Karazad accessories. Essence of Dawn isn't only obtainable through pen accessories. We've made it drop in certain monster zones as well. The second method involves using Deboreka accessories. I'll come back to this crafting method again shortly. Next, regarding stats, as shown here based on the rings, unenhanced Karazad starts with lower AP, but it increases with higher enhancement levels. At Tet, it matches Pen Crescent, and at Pen, it matches Tet Deboreka. At level 8 or Oct, it has the same AP as Pen Deboreka, and at Nov and Dek, AP increases by 1 each. The overall difficulty, including enhancement rates, is designed to feel similar to Sovereign Weapons. Reaching Pen is a bit easier, and achieving Oct, which has the same stats as Pen Deboreka, is also set to be slightly easier when compared to Pen Deboreka. However, for the final levels, Nov and Dek, the difficulty is higher, leaving them as an area of challenge. Compared to Deboreka accessories, fewer Cronstones are needed, so please note that Karazad accessories cannot be registered on the central market. Some of you may have started to wonder, what happens to Deboreka now? Many of you have worked hard to create Pen Deboreka accessories. So, we wanted to ensure that their values are fully recognized. For enhanced Deboreka accessories, they can be converted into enhanced Karazad accessories. Tet Deboreka accessories can be converted to Pen Karazad of the same stats. Based on stats, Pen Deboreka accessories should be converted to Oct Karazad accessories, but it falls a little short in terms of value. So, we've decided for them to be converted to Nov Karazad instead. So in short, adventurers with Pen Deboreka accessories will gain +1 AP for each piece after the patch. Those who are now starting can aim to grow their Karazad accessories, which are easier to enhance than Deboreka accessories. Or you can continue to try for Pen Deboreka or aim to convert them to get enhanced Karazad accessories via the mentioned method. Next, let's talk about diversifying gear. Adventurers have shared a lot of feedback, noting that the supply of more Deboreka accessories has led to the same item setups. As a result, unique yellow accessories have decreased in value over time. With that in mind, Karazad accessories were designed so that you can set them in a variety of ways. However, diversifying these combinations may require owning several high-value accessories, which can be burdensome. Also, for those who already have high-value accessories with accuracy, it could lead to the fear in having to start farming all over again. We aim to minimize these issues and inconveniences due to this change. We approach these potential problems from a fresh perspective. First of all, Karazad accessories have a special feature, an exclusive crystal slot that unlocks only when equipped. In the crystal slot, you can transfuse add-on crystals to give your Karazad accessory a special stat. The add-on crystals can be obtained by melting accessories with special stats. For example, melting a Dawn Earring or Toro's Belt provides materials to craft the add-on crystal that gives accuracy. When you transfuse the crystal, the Karazad accessory will turn into an accessory with special stats, with decreased displayed AP but increased accuracy. Accuracy is just an example. We are also preparing add-on crystals with stats including Black Spirit's Rage, damage reduction, evasion, and more. These add-on stats can be combined in various ways and will change the stats of Karazad accessories, allowing you to set them in different ways based on your playstyle or class. And these add-on crystals are being prepared to be obtained in various methods, and not just from melting accessories. For example, accuracy pen accessories like Dawn Earring and Toro's Belt can be melted to get the highest grade accuracy add-on crystal. What this means is that you can also loot them from monster zones or from special crafting, and having only the highest grade can be burdensome, so we're preparing lower grade versions of the add-on crystals to be used until then. For those who mainly enjoy PvE, the add-on crystals aren't a must, but when enjoying PvP content, there was a burden with creating setups. I hope these lower grade crystals can lessen the burden a bit, and please note, these add-on crystals do not shatter. Once this patch is applied, some existing yellow accessories might become rarer. This might mean having to go to low difficulty monster zones again. To prevent this, we'll ensure these enhanced yellow accessories can be obtained in high difficulty monster zones. We'll implement this in various ways to lessen the burden. Additionally, stacks required for enhancement, especially more high stacks, will likely be needed. Currently, materials for upgrades available in the central market, like Crystallized Despair, will be changed to be transformable to high stacks. Once everything is prepared, we'll provide detailed guidance with the patch. To summarize with intent included, let's go over it one last time. Karazad is a new purple grade accessory with the same enhancement system as the Sovereign weapons. It cannot be registered on the central market, but we've lowered the enhancement difficulty to ease the burden for those who plan to craft it. However, to maintain as much of the value of Deboreka's accessories as possible, Pen Deboreka accessories can be converted to a better Karazad accessory. Lastly, by converting the existing yellow specialized accessories into a new type of crystal, Karazad accessories were designed to enable a variety of setups. Alright, I've shared everything up to here. I'm curious to hear what our adventurers think. Some of you might be taken aback by this sudden news. Adding new equipment or tweaking the existing balance is a big burden for us. But even so, at this point, we believe the difficulty of Deboreka accessories needs some easing. We're aiming to release the new accessories and special crystals introduced today in the last week of October. We'll make sure everything's ready for the update. That's all the news for now, but there's one last thing I'd like to mention. Remember, I mentioned earlier that the materials for crafting the Karazad accessory could be found in certain monster zones. Well, we're preparing new monster zones in the land of the Morning Light. The Morning Light was developed as a region of bonus side stories to offer an experience unique from the main continent of Black Desert. There's already plenty of PvE on the main continent, so we questioned whether we needed to offer the same experience in the Morning Light. This thought was a major reason behind creating the Black Shrine with a boss battle focus. After the release of the Morning Light, many of you have enjoyed the Black Shrine, but there was still some disappointment over the absence of a new monster zone. Monster zones need more than just item drops. They need memorable monsters and settings. The land of the Morning Light has many beautiful places, so we think that's why there are more opinions like this. We agree with this point as well, so we've decided to add more content for you to explore in the Morning Light. With the release of the Karazad accessories, Dokkaebi Forest and Honglim Base will be introduced first, followed by Golden Pig Cave and Gowon Plateau as new monster zones. These new monster zones in the Morning Light are the first since Ulukita, and we're eager to spice things up beyond the usual PvE content. Take the Golden Pig Cave for instance. At the entrance stands a giant pig statue. As you battle the monsters within this area, the statue gradually fills with gold. Once it reaches its limit, it explodes, showering rewards for you to collect. It's like cracking open a piggy bank. We're developing similar field mechanics that add fun without disrupting the combat experience. We're also exploring the addition of other exciting features. Yet, I understand that new monster zones might not be entirely welcome right now, especially since last year we focused on tidying up existing content. We believe there's a greater desire for new content. We understand the disappointment adventurers feel, and to address these shortcomings, we'll all work hard on the upcoming updates. Until now, growth goals have been sidelined in favor of expanding content. Along with the item updates introduced today, we're gearing up for content that'll inspire new goals. We haven't been able to talk about this today, but we are working on content like Hardcore Server that adventurers are waiting for. We appreciate your patience. This is it for items and monster zones. Now, let's take a look at Dosa's Awakening.
The long journey's end. How lonely it is. Beneath a moonless sky, wandering clouds drift, lost and forlorn. In the absolute darkness. With hollow steps, the path ahead is treacherous. Yet onward I shall go, breathing only through my resolve. Thus I will uphold the legacy of Sangdo, a vow etched in deep regret. I shall carry it to the very end.
내려앉아. 아스라질지어다. 기어가라. 삼색 발파. 세차게 부딪히거라. 숨을 변중. 나가라. 기일원 태허 일기.
Greetings, adventurers. This is Jesse Ju, Game Design Executive Leader at Black Desert Studio, capturing traditional Korean Do wielders of rain, wind, and lightning such as Hong Gil-dong or John Woo-chi had already been embodied in the game by our very own Wusa and Meigu classes. Thus, we approached Dosa's Awakening differently. We wanted to return to the very basic of Do arts and designed the class around the philosophy of 5 elements. With Succession Dosa, we focused more on the concepts of umbral and luminous energies of Do, with his Cloud General and warriors inspired by the Dangun myth. By weaving the umbral and luminous, Dosa conjured cloud warriors, while brandishing the larger-than-life Hwando sword into battle. For his Awakening, we narrowed in on the 5 elements. As many of our adventurers had anticipated, we highlighted a more shamanistic aspect of the class. The 5 elements consist of fire, water, wood, metal, and earth. For our Western adventurers, it's somewhat similar yet not entirely to the classical 4 elements. This results in vibrant and spectacular action and effects unseen before in other classes. For the Awakening Dosa, we sought to incorporate the unique East Asian concept of the generative effect. Whereas the 4 elements focus on the weakness of the elements, the generative effect highlights how the elements augment each other. For example, using a fire elemental skill followed by a wood skill additionally amplifies the fire energy by using the wood as fuel, resulting in greater fire damage. Similarly, using a water skill followed by a wood skill enhances the wood energy by using water as nourishment, resulting in greater damage. Upon hearing this, the Awakening Dosa might seem complex, but we're working on making the generative effect easy and fun to use in combat. Now, here's an example of his skills and the generative effect. As mentioned, using wood as fuel amplifies fire energy. The skill you're seeing is Fire Spread. After use, a fire mark remains on the field. Think of it as lingering fire energy. Using a wood skill here enhances the lingering fire energy with the wood energy, causing another explosion of immense power. Here's another example. This skill is Wood Bend that was used earlier. After use, a wood mark is left on the field. Using a water skill here augments the lingering wood energy with water energy, greatly amplifying its power. Look closely at the mark. You'll see small indicators floating below the main mark. These indicate the generative element to enhance the skill. By paying attention to these, you'll have a blast using the generative effect to your game. The Awakening Dosa adopts a hybrid combat style, mixing melee and ranged attacks. Compared to existing classes, it's similar to Succession Meigu or Awakening Dark Knight. You can control from a distance, then quickly close in to exploit openings. If successful, continue the combo. If not, retreat to control from a distance once more. What makes Dosa's Awakening unique to other hybrid classes is his superior gap-closing performance. Even if he fails to exploit an opening, he can stay in melee, engage in a super armor bout, then perform an evasive skill to retreat to control from a distance once more. The Awakening Dosa can also be played like a melee class, and also offer some support to his allies. Like a melee support, he uses the generative effect to boost damage when enemies are close to his allies. Unlike other support skills from existing classes, he doesn't doesn't retreat to heal or provide buffs. Instead, he assists only while directly engaging the enemy in combat. Now, the date you've been waiting for. The Awakening Dosa drops on October 8th worldwide together with Korea. Soon, you'll meet the Awakening Dosa, who toys with foes using powerful elemental arts. Oh, and the Awakening Dosa captures the playful essence of the Korean Do wielder. We hope Dosa's antics atop the enemy's head brings some amusement. That's it for today. Thank you.